I think most of us have a pretty good sense that the human body is an absolute marvel. So today we're going to take a look at the cadavers throughout the lab to go over 20 of the most mind-blowing facts about your body. Of course it's going to be full of anatomical awesomeness. So let's do this. So let's start at the beginning, like the actual beginning of your creation. During climax, a male can release 125 to 750 million sperm cells. And that is made possible because the testes are pretty much making about 3,500 sperm cells per second. However, a female usually releases only one ovum or egg from this structure, the ovary, per month. So as you can see, the human body is taking no risks by sending millions of eager swimming suitors on a quest to find and fertilize that prized ovum. Now, if you thought the rate of sperm cell production was impressive, your red blood cells are about to show those flagellated cells who's boss, because your red bone marrow found in your spongy bone produces 2 million red blood cells per second. Clearly, these oxygen-carrying cells are very important, but what is interesting is that the rate of red blood cell production is actually necessary to balance the equally high rate of red blood cell breakdown. The human heart beats about 2.5 to 3 billion times over a lifetime. Given that the heart pumps around 2,000 gallons or 7,570 liters of blood per day, this means over a lifetime it's pumping around 55 million gallons or 208 million liters. That's a lot of blood. The uterus is the largest smooth muscle mass in the body, and in the non-pregnant female it is about the size of an inverted pear. And you can see about half of the uterus right here. But during pregnancy, the uterus increases its weight by 22-fold, and since we're talking about fruit, gets to the size of a watermelon, which means it grows and shifts all of these other organs, like the small intestine, the liver that you can see here, and the stomach, all shifting upward to accommodate this watermelon-sized uterus during baby time. If you could unfold your respiratory tubes within the lungs and lay them flat, you would get a surface area of around 75 square meters, roughly the size of a racquetball court. This is due to the respiratory passageways having 23 generations. And what that means is that we get a lot of branching of these tubes. The trachea is the first tube. It then splits into the primary bronchi here, which is the second generation, and then we get a split into the lobar bronchi, which is the third generation. And this happens 23 times all the way down to these tiny small tubes called alveolar ducts. And these alveolar ducts dilate into what looks like a cluster of grapes called alveoli. And there are 300 to 500 million alveoli found in the lungs. That's a lot of surface area to exchange as much oxygen and carbon dioxide as possible. The spinal cord doesn't actually travel the entire length of your vertebral column. It ends around L1, L2, which if you look closely, you can see the very end and the tip of it right at the tip of my probe. And then it becomes a bundle of nerves that continue down. This bundle of nerves, look how cool this is called the Cauda equina, which translates to horse's tail. And it continues down towards the sacrum and the coccyx, innervating everything downstream. The average amount of blood that the heart of a non-trained person can pump per minute is about 15 liters. But with an elite endurance athlete, the heart can pump up to 40 liters per minute. That just goes to show that with consistent training, the heart can improve its strength and pumping capacity dramatically. The human body is made up of trillions of cells. However, there are estimates that only 1 in 10 of those cells are human, meaning we have many more microorganisms living on and within us than our own human cells, and this makes up what is known as the microbiome. And many of these microorganisms live in your colon, and they play a major role in proper functioning of the digestive system and digestive system health, which is actually very convenient that this naturally came up in this video, because now would be a great time to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, AG1. AG1 is a foundational daily nutrition supplement backed by research studies, and it's packed with multiple vitamins, minerals, and adaptogens. It also includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes to support gut health, which has led to a small pro and con for my family. The pro is that it has helped keep many of my family members' bowel movements a bit more regular. The con, I'm not sure that I really want to know about the details of how often a stool exits the colon of one of my family members. But in a recent research study, AG1 doubled the levels of healthy gut bacteria. These healthy bacteria help break down food, alleviate bloating, and aid in digestive comfort. And obviously, in my experience, promote digestive regularity. And so it's definitely nice to see that AG1 is constantly putting their formula to the test to ensure continuous improvements. And another thing that I love about AG1 is that it has a comprehensive formula. And instead of needing to add multiple supplements each day, I get everything I need in one easy scoop. So if you're interested, right now AG1 is offering a surprise limited edition gift on top of the welcome kit when you subscribe. It won't last long, so if you're interested, go to drinkag1.com/humananatomy to get a free bottle of vitamin D3K2 plus 5 extra travel packets of AG1 with your first purchase. Thanks again to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. Determining how many skin cells we lose per day is actually more difficult than you might imagine, but it's often cited that we lose anywhere from 30 to 40,000 skin cells per minute. This would mean we're losing around 1.8 to 2.4 million skin cells every hour, which translates to be between 43.2 to 57.6 million skin cells every single day. So be sure to clean your bed sheets often. This is the largest artery in the human body, called the aorta, and it's the size of a garden hose and the start of blood flow from the heart. And from this, the blood vessels will branch into one of the most extensive and efficient irrigation systems ever created. Think about getting oxygen and nutrients to trillions of cells, and it's estimated that if all the individual blood vessels were placed end to end, they would extend for about 60,000 miles, roughly 3 times the circumference of the Earth. So yeah, 60,000 miles of tubing just hanging out in your body. Your kidneys filter about 190 liters or 50 gallons of blood per day. But most of that is just filtered and reclaimed because you certainly don't pee 190 liters per day, as that would be a major problem, because typically we only produce about 1 to 2 liters of urine each day. Now here's something crazy to think about. The most complex body system, the nervous system, only weighs about 4.5 pounds, with the brain taking up about 3 pounds of that total weight. Now if you ask me, that's a system that's definitely carrying its weight. The human eye blinks around 15 times per minute, which equates to 900 blinks per hour, 21,600 per day, and around 7.9 million per year. This is accomplished by this cool muscle here called the orbicularis oculi. Not only does this orbicularis oculi contract a lot, it also is one of the fastest muscles in the human body. And if you were impressed with the orbicularis oculi muscle, you may also be impressed with the extraocular muscles that attach to and move the eye. These are also some of the fastest muscles in the human body, because if something comes flying towards your face, you want to be able to react like an anatomical ninja. And continuing with speed, neural impulses travel through nerves at speeds up to 250 miles per hour or 402 kilometers per hour. This speed varies depending on the myelination, the fatty wrapping that some neurons have, but still, 250 miles per hour? That's ridiculous. The stomach is the most distensible portion of the GI tract, meaning that it can stretch the most, and so it can accommodate a large amount of food. And part of this has to do with these folds inside the stomach called gastric rugae that allow for the stomach to stretch and expand. Now for us mere mortals, we may be able to stuff up to 1.5 liters of food in there, but the competitive eaters can put as much as 6.4 liters of food in the stomach. If someone were to have their heart removed from their chest, kind of like Kano does from Mortal Kombat, or we should probably do it more appropriately, say like through a surgical procedure, the heart could actually continue to beat for around 3 minutes. That's because the heart is capable of what's known as self-excitation or autorhythmicity. And this is because of the nature of the cardiac muscle fibers that make up the heart, as well as the heart having a built-in pacemaker that gives it the ability to repeatedly generate spontaneous action potentials. And this is completely independent of the brain, although the brain does play a role at times. But if the heart does have a hard time beating on its own, you can always add a pacemaker like we have with this heart. An average adult produces about 1 liter of saliva each day. And here's the largest of the 3 salivary glands, called the parotid gland, for your viewing pleasure. But if you're producing 1 liter of saliva each day, that means over a year you produce 365 liters, or about 96 gallons of saliva. Over a lifetime, that's around 28,000 liters, or 7,400 gallons. Enough to fill 90 bathtubs with spit. A person that is untrained or unacclimatized can produce about 1 liter of sweat per hour when exercising and or when exposed to a very hot and humid environment. However, when that person becomes more fit and or acclimatized to the hot and humid environment, the sweat glands can adapt to produce up to 2 to 3 liters of sweat per hour. That's quite the improvement in one's thermoregulatory capacity. Remember when we started at the beginning today with millions of sperm cells searching for that one ovum? When the one sperm cell reaches and fertilizes the ovum, we get a complete cell with all the necessary chromosomes, and we call this cell a zygote. Now here's what is crazy. The zygote then grows and divides into an embryo. Then the embryo becomes an incredible fetus that you can see here. And then we become this full-grown human with friends, family, life experiences, memories, and all the fully functional structures that we talked about today. And that all started with one cell.